Hey. Grand Rising, good people. Happy Friday. Y'all know what it is. It's the wake up. Got a lot to talk about today. We got Kamala Harris's town hall. We got JD Vance's town hall. We got a bunch of other stuff to catch up on. It's an amazing week. Amazing week. Hope everybody is having an amazing week. Shout out to my brother Mark in the building. Shout out to Mark. He's been tapping in with us every night, man. It's been a busy week. But we love that. We did a live show yesterday. We did a live show Wednesday night. That's what we asked for. I was waiting for my water to boil in the background so I can have my mushroom tea or mushroom coffee. What are y'all drinking in the morning? What are y'all drinking first thing in the AM? What are y'all drinking? Coffee, tea, water with lime, water with lemon. All right, so there goes my water. Give me 1 second. Let me pour that real quick. And just like that, we're back. See, I thought I was going to be a while. Who's drinking the water? Urs is drinking the water first thing. Yeah, so I think I just had some lime water in a bottle. I had it somewhere sitting around, but then I had my tea. From last night. I actually have my relaxed tea, so y'all may catch a more relaxed version of me today. But yeah, what do we got? On the agenda? Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to start off with some messages from Lizzo and Usher. We're going to go into that and whether or not we're being manipulated. Then we're going to get to apparently, I don't know if y'all are noticing it, but a lot of these liberal platforms like CNN, they weren't too happy with Kamala Harris. It seems that a lot of people are starting to criticize her in ways that they previously didn't feel comfortable or just didn't. Then we have an interaction between Ashley Allison and Scott Jennings, our buddy Scott Jennings on CNN. I don't know why I wrote CBS here, on CNN. So we're going to take a look at that. And that's going to feed into, we're actually going to take a look at, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. Have you guys heard of the 1916 Project? So the 1916 Project is on Margaret Sanger. Very interesting. It's about the origins of Planned Parenthood. And I think it's probably come at the perfect time, but perhaps maybe a little bit too late. I wish that it was here maybe a month ago, because what I think it's going to do is perhaps change our perception on abortion. Now, when I say change our perception, I'm not saying that you're going to go from pro-life to pro-choice or pro-choice from pro-life, but I think it just, when you understand the origin of something, it makes it, in this case, makes us able to question certain things now based on how it originated in 1916 with her, based on her intentions. You know, a lot of people love Planned Parenthood, but when you understand the intentions of her, you may be referring her to the gentleman in Germany that they like to refer Trump to. And I mean that in every way. She had a lot of the same intent. So we'll take a look at that. I don't know. Maybe at least it'll be eye-opening to understand where it originated. Then we got we're going back to, I couldn't resist it. I saw something regarding relationships and an interesting clip on Instagram. I believe, I don't want to mess up, either Ant or Quee sent it over to me, I believe. But we're going to take a look at that. And then we have a couple other videos, but I doubt we get through everything anyway. So I didn't want to read the rest, because then I end up reading all the things that we're going to talk about and never get to it. So, all right. So Urs said he's drinking water in the AM. Lana said water and espresso over ice. Nice. Urs said coffee. Yeah. So I have my coffee and my tea right here. And Mark said, have you watched JD Vance on Theo Vaughn? I haven't. Is that a must see? Let me know. If it's a must see, I'll check it out. Mark wrote water and a bran muffin. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Do you heat up the bran muffin? Or is it just, either way, it sounds good. Sanger is evil, in my opinion, was quoted as saying, don't tell anyone that it's about controlling the black population. Hillary loved her, by the way. Mark, man, where have you been all my life, brother? I'm telling y'all, if you are not familiar with Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood, you need to watch the 1916 Project. Matter of fact, even if you are familiar, if you think you're familiar, you need to watch it, because all of the things that she were implementing, she was implementing for an evil purpose of having one race and basically being able to kill off the other races that she did not want included, and kill off the people that maybe were born with deformities that she didn't think would be the ideal human being. So we'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at it. It's a must. It's a must. All right. So then I'll check out the JD Vance and Theo Vaughn. So here's what I wanted to get into first. And it's a interesting video showing Usher and Lizzo. Now, a lot of people have used a lot of celebrities and it's been on both sides. Trump has used some, the Democrats and Kamala have used some. And I guess just me personally, I'm more offended by a lot of the Democrats and the people that they're using, like Meg Thee Stallion, even Eminem to a certain standpoint. I'm offended by, I got offended by a lot of this stuff. Barack Obama, even though he's a politician. But I wanted y'all to take a look at this video, and then we'll have a discussion after that, because and then we're going to show what's so funny about Usher is Usher now is campaigning for Kamala. It seems that way, or he definitely did at her rally in Atlanta. But then just a month ago, his tune was totally different when he was on The View. He said all the right things on The View, or what I perceived as the right things, but I'll let you guys take a look at both, and you can tell me where I'm wrong. All right, so take a look at this. Hold on. Let me make sure it's shared so y'all not looking at the screen for no reason. Take a look at this and let me know your thoughts.
What up, though? All the best things were made in Detroit. Coney Dogs, Fago, and Lizzo.
You want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands.
They say if Kamala wins, then the whole country will be like Detroit. Okay? Proud like Detroit. Resilient like Detroit. We're talking about the same Detroit that innovated the auto industry and the music industry. So put some respect on Detroit's name.
The same Detroit that innovated the automobile industry and the music industry. Have any of these things occurred in the last 50 years? Donald Trump, and this is what bothers me so much. This definitely bothers me. Not really, but yeah. We say that we want somebody that's going to tell it to us as it is, speak direct. We're tired of politicians giving us word salad, BSing, smooth talking us, finessing us, giving us the whole pastor routine in order to get us to support them. Then when we have somebody like Donald Trump that sits down with the Detroit Economic Forum and has the courage to stand up to those people, like who else should he say it to? To say like she's going to turn the rest of the country into Detroit. Now, Lizzo can stand up here and talk about Detroit Motown or the Detroit automobile industry that, since it was such a strong part of the Detroit workforce, has demolished a lot of the communities, has them living in impoverished communities. When you look at the school system, the reading levels are terrible. The English scores are terrible overall. You look at the type of neighborhoods in Detroit. I know it was a thing where, a few years ago, people were going back and buying up all these homes, boarded up homes. Detroit, this is the emotional aspect that ends up manipulating and confusing us. Detroit is not a good look. turning the rest of the country into Detroit is not a good thing. But she's trying to sit here and tell you because Detroit established Motown and the automobile industry 2 generations ago, and since has failed and lost a lot of those factories, lost a lot of that industry. She's telling you that, oh, it would be great if the country was turned into Detroit. If that's the case, Lizzo, you said you were born there. Why don't you live there now? Nobody wants the country to turn into Detroit.
I love you more, but I love Kamala Harris even more. I want her to be our next president of.
Damn, they done got Usher. Usher must have been on one of them Diddy tapes. Usher must have been on, they got something on Usher, because I'm telling you, he completely changed his tune. He was so respectful, so logical, so sensible when he visited The View. And now he's just, that's what I'm saying. Just be honest. Like, just be genuine. If you like a candidate, say you like a candidate. Tell us why you like a candidate. But don't say all the right things on The View a month ago. Then it seems like you got to call, hey, Ush, yeah, the team ain't like that. We need you. We need you to go to the rally, get the people in Georgia going. That Meg Thee Stallion-ish didn't work. We need somebody different. Barack Obama ain't hitting. We need you to come in, maybe talk to the community, get them excited to vote for Kamala. Yeah, I got y'all. Matter of fact, he probably said, I already made my stance clear, just like on The View. I don't want to push people one direction or another. I want them to do their own due diligence and to make a decision on their own. Usher, the same person, he said the right thing. And on The View, he said the right thing. But then they probably said, oh, yeah, you know, with that Diddy situation going on, or they got something over people's head. The same thing that they did with Epstein. These people, and maybe you're looking at me like I'm a conspiracy theorist. There's no way that you can convince me that one, Usher either, and I guess it would be 2 options. Either he got paid a whole bunch of money, and I don't think that he would accept a bunch of money to do something like this. Or 2, and depending on how big the bag is, or 2, they got something over him and used it to pressure him. Or 3, I'm just bugging.
Of the United States.
If you ask me if America is ready for its first woman president, I only got one thing to say. It's about damn time!
This is the thing. She said if we ask her. Can y'all think about anything in life that y'all would ask Lizzo for her opinion on? Like any serious issue in your life that you would think, let me figure out what Lizzo thinks on this matter. Just tell me, is there anything in life that you would be thinking like that?
It's about damn time!
We ready. What? We ready. Come on, Georgia.
Shout out to my brother Ed.
Thank you so much. Vote early. Let's do this.
It's I don't know. So matter of fact, while you're getting your thoughts together, I'll have you take a look at the video that I was referring to with Usher on The View, and you guys tell me if my man didn't get pressured into changing his entire outlook on the election, or at least how he voiced it to all of us. So take a look at this video.
But you know, Taylor Swift has now endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And she was very, I thought, very smart the way she did it. It was like, you do your research and you decide for yourselves. But I, a single cat woman, as she points to, I am voting for Kamala. Do you think, I always say that in this emergency that we're in, I think that behooves artists to come out and speak for Kamala against Donald Trump, because he is an existential threat to the country. What do you say to that?
You know what? I don't get too.
He handled this situation perfectly. Like,
It's Donald Trump, because he is an existential threat to the country. What do you say to that?
You know what? I don't get too deep into politics. I didn't get a chance to watch the debate last night. I obviously have been watching like everybody else. I think voting is an individual choice. And I think that, you're right. You have to look at the reality of the country that we are and the country that we want to be, and find the candidate that you feel both who fits the category of where we want to be. And that's it. And that's what you vote based off of. Who you highlight and how you choose to highlight it on whatever platform you have is your prerogative.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how he answered the question. Now, I want to go back to the beginning. The first thing that he mentioned in the
This
beginning.
emergency that we're in, I think he is
Listen to
I
this.
didn't get a chance to watch the debate.
country.
Hold on.
What do you say to
Listen
that?
to the
You know
first
what?
thing
I
he
don't get
says.
too deep into politics.
I don't get too deep into politics. Well, then why are you on stage telling us who we need to vote for and telling us how much you love Kamala Harris? Like, I'm telling you right now, and I predicted it I remember after or during, it was the Trump Kamala debate. I believe it may have been JD Vance and Tim Walz, but I believe it was Trump Kamala. And after the debate, I said Kamala Harris is going to win. After about maybe 2 weeks, when she had that big surge after she debated Trump, everything seemed to just shift. There was a momentum shift. And at least 2-3 weeks ago, I told a whole bunch of people, and I said it on the show. I know I said it on the show. I said, maybe I said this. Maybe I said that if Trump wins, Trump's going to win in a landslide, or could win in a landslide. Kamala Harris, she's going to have to win in the tight race. Trump is going to win this in a landslide. I'm telling y'all right now that, and unless Trump comes out and says something like Trump is 100% capable of, or they bring up an old story or something like that, a new victim comes out the closet, I don't know, whatever, I don't know. Unless they do something like that, and to be totally honest, even if they do something like that, I think what has happened is that people are starting to realize, and the Democrats are starting to realize, they probably already knew that Kamala, like, all right, you know, we got to shield her a little bit. But then they got a little comfortable after that debate, and she started to speak more. They thought that she should go on Fox News. She had a tough interview that we haven't even reviewed with NBC, where she got pressed. She had an extremely tough town hall with Anderson Cooper. People are realizing that the only time Kamala Harris is going to look good and sound good is perhaps when she's standing within 10 feet of Donald Trump. She is terrible on her own. That wasn't the initial point that I was trying to make. The point that I'm making is that the Democrats are in panic mode. Why is Usher, who just said, I'm not into politics, now jumping out the window, pushing us to try to vote for Kamala? They are in panic mode. And I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens over the next week or so. I don't know. But I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the Democrats start to turn on Kamala, because even this happened. Think about this. They said Kamala Harris was in Texas. So I guess with some of the other elections that will take place as well, a lot of the people that are Democrats in a lot of these states are worried that they're going to lose their positions based on Kamala doing so disappointing. Based on her disappointing, they're worried. So that's why, because people were saying, like, why is she in Texas? She's not going to win Texas. However, there's still Democrats that are running for other positions in Texas. Now they're scared that they're going to lose their majority, or the Democrats are panicking. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, or y'all tell me if y'all are seeing it the same way. I don't know, but shout out to the brother Ant for dropping that 199. And I want to go back to a comment that Mark wrote. I don't want to skip over that, where you said Trump wasn't slamming Detroit. He was lamenting its decline. He's just pointing out a fact. He's pointing out a fact. So let me hold on. Let me read. So Mark wrote, I think the folks that come out for Kamala are worried that Trump might expose them for their relationship to Diddy or Epstein. Who knows, man? Who knows? Hold up. Here we go. He gonna get the blood pressure going with Lizzo. He know that you're bugging, Dak. You know Lizzo knows where the good food at. Oh, stop playing. Yeah, man. Come on, bro. Ant said it. He got me saying mean stuff to Lizzo up here. All right, so let's go to the next video. Let's go to this next video. We're going to get into a little bit about, I think we're talking about how Kamala Harris did in her town hall. So one of the things that's been happening that doesn't typically happen is that a lot of people have been calling out Kamala Harris on the Democratic side. So you see CNN panelists, you'll see, I haven't seen MSNBC panelists, but you'll see a lot of these traditional liberal leaning panelists like a Jake Tapper, like a Dana Bash, even Abby, I always forget Abby's last name. Even Abby came out and said some things where it's like, you got to admit that your team lost and you're kind of in between on the fence, and they are recognizing that she is not doing as well as they were trying to make it out that she was. And now it's reflecting in the polls. Reflecting in the polls. So apparently Donald Trump is doing better in the polls than he even did in 2016 and 2020, I believe. But let's take a look at this as they reviewed her performance from the town hall with Anderson Cooper. And let's get some of our thoughts. Let's get some of their thoughts and have a little discussion around it.
Vance's streak of fumbled interviews and word salads continues after she bombed her CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper. The town.
And hold on, my fault. I didn't see your comment until a little bit late. So Ant wrote, I don't know if this is a panic. It just looks more like pandering. I'm going to be totally honest. When she jumped out the window saying that Trump was a fascist, I believe she said it in a speech that she wrote at the White House, and then she said it again in the town hall. She had never, like, her thing before was almost like, I'm standing on this high horse. I'm not going to go play in the mud with Trump. That was her thing early on. And it seemed to be working for a lot of people because people's perception of Trump was he's mean, he's an a-hole, we don't like him, he's a terrible human being. All he wants to do is be mean and disrespectful to people. So Kamala Harris can she kind of stood above that. You know, I'm not going to answer these questions. You know, I'm not going to I'm not going to show him any regard. So that was the energy that she was showing. Now for her to come out and say Trump is a fascist based on some comments or things that people that used to work with Trump have said, to me, it seems like desperation. It seems like desperation. To be totally honest, I don't know if y'all heard that speech. Maybe we should look into that. But when she said that speech, I believe it was outside the White House, I'm not sure, calling Trump a fascist, to me, I thought that was a call for another, let me not say a call. I thought that somebody who maybe is really unhinged or maybe very extreme and perhaps dealing with some mental health issues, they hear her say something like that. And that to me is what leads to the assassination attempts on Trump. Based on her speaking like that, when they speak words like that, when they call for fascism, Trump is a fascist. Like, what do you expect a true American patriot to do when you have a fascist that is getting ready to take power? What do you expect them to do? So I thought that was the desperation aspect. Maybe it was just me feeling it though. Mark wrote, it's a wild and weird world for the elites. Tongue twister. I bet that Pizzagate had some truth to it too. That Pizzagate is starting to look a little bit, I don't know. Wasn't good old Bill on that Epstein list? Allegedly, correct me if I'm wrong. Mark wrote, they're desperate and throwing Hail Marys with Trump is Hitler, etc. I believe that. When you start throwing out those things like Trump is this, Trump is that, it's desperation and ant, like a dog whistle. I'm not going to say that she's whistling for it to happen. To be totally honest, let me be very clear on this particular situation. I don't think that Kamala Harris truly wants anything bad to happen to Donald Trump. I don't think that Kamala Harris wants to say anything that's going to cause anything bad to happen to Donald Trump. However, I do believe that there are a lot of powerful and wealthy people that are banking on Kamala Harris winning, and they do not believe that she can win. So therefore, they're pushing her and forcing her to say certain things that may cause certain things to happen, if that makes any sense. I don't want to go into it too much on YouTube, have them, flagging the video and everything. However, hopefully it's coming across what I mean. I don't think that Kamala Harris has any malicious intent towards Trump. I'll be totally honest. I don't think that she's, I was going to say, I don't think that she's that type of person. I'm not even going to get into what type of person she is. I just don't think in this particular situation that she was saying those words in order to incite something. However, I do believe that there's powerful people behind her that are pushing her to say certain things because they are becoming desperate. Kamala Harris may be one of these delusional people that just think that she's winning and just thinks that she could laugh and giggle and not answer questions and play the word salad game and still win people over. However, I think the people from outside or either on her team are telling her, or maybe not telling her, but they're very well aware that she's losing this race. Let's keep going here.
Hall was widely expected to be a softball interview, as has happened in the past. But Anderson Cooper did in fact fact-check the presidential nominee on occasion. Additionally, CNN hosts and panelists railed on Harris after the event, suggesting the network may be turning on her just 2 weeks out from the election. In true Kamala style, she served up a confused word salad about parenting, despite never having children.
Is there some?
They got to do something with this music behind this. My apologies. Like it's driving me crazy. I'm sorry.
Word salad about parenting, despite never having children.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many.
Yo, I don't know how, like, this is softball interviewing. She got like 3 softball questions thrown her way by Anderson Cooper. One was this, the other was, your mom, you were taking care of your mother. Do you still grieve? It's like you're just giving her softball. Like, it's like it's not even softball. These are like T-ball questions. These are T-ball questions. It's matter of fact, is that just, that's misogynistic saying softball. Whatever. She is getting T-ball questions being thrown her way. And it's like she won't even swing. It's like, I don't know what's wrong. I do not know what's wrong. This is interview 101. In any interview that you go on, for all those people that may be interviewing in the future, be prepared for them to ask you, what are the 3 greatest qualities about yourself? Well, what are some qualities that you need to work on? And then you use the 3 greatest, you use you pretty much talk about the same things, but you use them in different ways. However, Kamala, you can't bring up one mistake that you made, like one mistake that you made and just answer on the fly. And I don't know.
Many mistakes.
The type of person that won't acknowledge mistakes is the type of person that thinks that they made a lot of mistakes. If you made a mistake, acknowledge you made a mistake, keep it moving. But when you're insecure because you believe that, damn, like I keep making these mistakes, and it's like, oh, that person doesn't want to acknowledge that they've been making mistakes.
And I mean,
Look at
You think it's a mistake?
and I think people got mad at me or upset or maybe just disagreed when I said that I don't think that Kamala Harris is that intelligent as far as being able to adjust on the fly. I'm talking about from a political standpoint. I'm not saying that she wouldn't pass her GED or couldn't go to college and get good grades. I'm basing it on the position that she's going for. I do not think that she's a very intelligent politician. I do not think that. I believe that the majority of us who are in this conversation right now, if we prepared for a town hall, we would be excited to answer this question. This would be one like, oh, this is a good one. And I know it can be tricky because you don't want to say anything that's too bad, but you could talk about anything. If it was me being asked, I'd be like, I actually was thinking that, I realized that I was making the mistake that I called a lot of people out as far as voting for people based on identity politics. Remember what I said about, I preferred a man to be in the White House, but then I changed it to say, you know what, just the best candidate, and whoever's the best candidate, then it goes from there. Because when I just say, oh, I prefer a man, then that's no different than somebody else saying I prefer a white guy, I prefer a Jewish guy, I prefer a Muslim, or a girl, you know what I mean? So you just answer on the fly, you're just genuine. But when you're always thinking about what you have to say based on what people want to hear rather than just being genuine, it's always going to come across this way where she's not going to be able to talk as fluid as what we saw yesterday with the JD Vance. Let's keep going.
Mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes. And they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
So pretty much you didn't make any mistakes as a vice president. Do you understand how that makes people feel? Like I said, the people that are already voting for her are probably still going to vote for her. But even people that I know that are voting for her after this town hall, they were like, yeah, she's got to do a little better here and there. Now, they're still not going to vote for Trump, I believe. However, they acknowledge that this was very bad. And I saw Ant write in the chat, Fox still holding the #1 spot for interviews. And I never mentioned this because I didn't see it, or I don't recall seeing it. I think it was a while ago. So the same guy that interviewed Kamala Harris, Brett Baer, I believe is his name, who gave her a very tough interview. I didn't realize that that was the same guy that gave Trump an interview some time ago and was extremely tough on Trump. So I know a lot of people who just saw the interview with Kamala may say like, oh yeah, he must be a Trumper. Maybe we should go back and look at the interview that he did with Trump, because from what I can recall seeing different clips and what people spoke about it, he was much harder even on Trump, because Trump called him out and said, like, he said something about the guy, Brett, saying pretty much like, yeah, he can be not a nice guy in certain interviews. He was real tough for me. I believe it was when he was on the Patrick Bet David podcast. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. I just wanted to make that point.
Commentator Matt Walsh slammed Harris for her answer, saying multiple times in this town hall, Kamala claimed.
But I got to interrupt again. Could you imagine being someone like a lot of people in this country are not happy. Let's just put it on a surface level, is that a lot of people in this country are not happy. There's a lot of toxicity in this country. People are struggling to pay for everyday items. The cost for everything is going up. You have to make so much more money to buy a house. This American dream is seeing more and more unrealistic. And she's the current vice president and pretty much says that she didn't make any mistakes because it's her duty to prepare for things so she doesn't make mistakes. Meanwhile, she's on stage fumbling everything.
That she raised and parented children. Her stepkids were 20 and 15 when she married into the family. She did not raise children. She has no idea what raising a child actually means or entails. And again, Kamala Harris gave a confused word salad answer when asked why she hadn't made any changes despite being in the White House for 4 years.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years, you were vice president, not the president, but why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
And on the issue of the border, Harris was fact-checked by Anderson Cooper after she attempted to blame Donald Trump for the border crisis again.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you agreed to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made.
We're talking about the wall, ma'am. Anderson, can you bring her back to talk about the wall? Definitely appreciate that.
Which is when.
And the reason why she's doing all this word salad right now is because you called something a vanity project. You called Donald Trump's border wall a vanity project. But then listen, notice how she contradicts herself. This is what's so amazing. Matter of fact, I didn't even catch that until now. Think about this. She thought that she was taking a shot at Donald Trump, saying that when he decided to take a picture, where did he take it? On the part of the wall that Barack Obama built. Wait. So Barack Obama was cool building the wall. And I showed y'all the video of Barack Obama years ago, Nancy Pelosi years ago, Joe Biden years ago, discussing building a fence and saying that it needs to happen, whether it's a popular thing in the Democratic Party or not, that it's necessary. So Donald Trump builds the wall. And now, ever since Donald Trump was saying build the wall, the Democrats, obviously, they decided to take the opposite stance and say, no, leave the wall open, let everybody in. And that's exactly what happened. But now she's sitting here saying that the same thing that she called a vanity project, that Barack Obama actually did the same thing. So make it make sense. This is just another example of it's not about what's right and wrong. It's about, oh, that's what they're doing over there. Okay, let's figure out a way to make sense of the complete opposite over here. It's not what she's saying now or what she's getting ready to say. It's like, I'll take a good idea from everywhere. Well, when you were calling it a vanity project, why was it a good idea? Why was it a bad idea then and now a good idea? And if so, then maybe you should acknowledge that that was something that Trump was right about, that you guys fought him. And the reason why the reason why the rest of the wall wasn't built is because of your administration. You guys haven't continued that. Now you're signing a bill into play that will build the wall that you once called a vanity project. Just explain to us why. This shouldn't even have been a hard question. She could have just responded and said something like, listen, I was initially against the wall for A, B, and C. You know, initially at the time, I thought that it was too strict and that we needed to create something outside of a wall in order to control the border and people coming in. However, based on what has happened in the first 3.5 years of our administration, it seems to make sense to build a wall, and obviously working with the Republicans on a bipartisan policy, there needs to be certain things that we allow and take ideas from them, as well as the things that are important to us. And we take the things that are important to all of us, which is ensuring the safety of Americans, and we implement that. She could have just said that. Instead, she's doing what she's doing.
We need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is that?
You ever mess something up? Yo, this is like some little kids like going to their parents and they mess something up or anything. Like you mess something up on the job. Let's say you really mess up on the job and then you have a team meeting because you messed up after everybody told you that what you were getting ready to do was going to mess something up and you stood on it. And now you're in the board. Let's just fix this. We don't need to point fingers. Let's just fix this.
Is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
No. Anderson, what you should have said, so you think that it was a good idea, the wall. But he said, you don't think it's stupid anymore. Listen to what she says.
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
So because he didn't build the wall, like you're saying, you know what? Why am I insulting the intelligence of all of y'all? Let's just keep going. I don't need to break this down to y'all.
I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Donald Trump then blasted her answer.
She said during that town hall she believes they've handled the border correctly. CNN pressed her on it. Would you have done anything different? Do you regret anything? And she said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
Wait a minute, that she's handling it correctly?
Correct.
She said that?
She said that. She said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
We allowed 21 million people in. We allowed 13,099 murderers. We allowed mental institutions from all over the world. If she said that, look, she's a grossly incompetent person. And if she said that, they had the worst border in history.
He also went on to publicly...
Now, a lot of people who support who support Kamala and love Kamala are not going to like what Trump just said. They're going to say, oh, he's so mean. Like, why does he have to point? Do you disagree with anything that he said?
shame Kamala Harris's town hall during a rally in Tempe, Arizona.
She's so bad. I watched last night. I don't watch CNN often, it's fake news, but I watched last night. Oh, their camera just went off.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Hey,
I watched last night. She did a town hall. Honestly, it was pathetic. It was pathetic. There's never been anything like that. We can't let it happen. We can't. That's why you have to get everyone saying how well we're doing. You still get out the people that haven't voted, get out and vote. We can't take a chance. We can't take a chance on this disaster continuing because we won't have a country left if it does.
Surprisingly, both social media and mainstream media had similar reactions to the town hall, with even Kamala Harris's greatest allies slamming her performance.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris.
Yo, it was Van Jones. I hope it's in this clip. Oh my God. If it's not in this clip, then I apologize tremendously to y'all. And I will find it. I will do a show just focus on it. Van Jones criticized her. Van Jones criticized her. That's pretty bold for Van Jones.
Slamming her performance.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris. We'd just press play, let her keep going. We'd pay for another hour to let her keep not answering the questions. I think Anderson's asking her, well, why haven't you done it? You've been there for 4 years. Why have you done any of this? And the word salad answer she gave to that was just mind-boggling. I mean, it's blown up the internet, her answer to that question. I think the things that are troubling for people were her responses to, Van said about what's she going to do to reduce costs when they asked her at the beginning. We're hurting economically. She said, I'm going to prosecute corporations. Right? That's not going to lower costs. How are you going to make things better for me? I'm going to prosecute people. Trump bad is not a message that's going to get her elected.
And even CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash criticized her performance.
Focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do.
If her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that.
Conservative commentator Piers Morgan also doubled down on the criticism, saying,
what's wild is they just called Piers Morgan a conservative. I don't know if I'd say that. Whatever. Let's keep going.
I watched this whole town hall. It was terrible. Kamala just talks in endless word salad gibberish. When she loses, and she will, the Democrats are going to look so dumb for allowing her to coronate herself as a nominee without any proper contest.
I got a question for y'all. If she does lose, do you think there's going to be a lot of infighting in the blame game within the Democratic Party? Do you think people are going to turn on Kamala Harris? Do you think that she'll be able to maybe run again in 2028? Do you think she'll be relevant in the Democratic Party? I know it's a bunch of hypotheticals, but I was just sitting here thinking that. Like, if Kamala Harris loses this election, then, and she's still pretty young, politically. I mean, she doesn't seem like she's on her decline, I would say. I think she's just she's the same person that she's always been. But she may disappear and never be back in the spot. I don't know. Like, what would be next for her if she doesn't win this election? And that kind of says a lot. Hold on. That kind of says a lot. Where doesn't it say a lot about voting for her? Like, if you're voting for her, that's the question that I have for you. What do you think would happen to her if she didn't win the election? And I think that says a lot about the type of candidate that she is. Let's say, for instance, like a JD Vance, and we're going to get into some of JD's town hall as well. This may be a little bit of a longer show. We won't get too crazy. JD Vance is going to be a star in in politics. The way he expressed himself, he's going to be a star amongst a lot of Democrats. He will have plenty of opportunities in politics. Kamala Harris loses this race. I don't know what position she would end up having. All we found out, I mean, she was brought in. Y'all know I believe that she was a DEI hire because of black people forcing Joe Biden, holding him hostage, saying, like, unless you bring on a black woman VP, then we're not voting for y'all. So she got into the office. She didn't do anything while she was vice president. She's probably done more in the last 2 months than she did her entire first 3.5 years of being a vice president. We didn't hear from her. She didn't do anything. She wasn't in the spotlight, nothing.
Another unsuccessful media appearance is the last thing Kamala Harris needs this close to the election, says Sky News host Liz Storer.
We all know Harris is failing in the polls. It is a painful death to watch, but that doesn't mean it isn't very, very entertaining. Her latest appearance on the campaign trail was a town hall meeting on CNN. She had a big go at Donald Trump because he decided not to come to this one, and she made a big deal out of that. Of course, he'd simply decided not to come because A, he doesn't need to. He's doing very handsomely in the polls without it, and B, CNN, not a friendly audience for the Trump campaign. You're not really going to win many CNN viewers over, are you? So he decided to save his time. She had the floor all to herself, and wasn't it entertaining? She literally took one question and took the opportunity to answer it by explaining why she wasn't going to be very quick or good at answering the questions, the whole purpose of a town hall.
Damn.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Yeah. I know I said the other day that I can understand why people feel that they need to vote for Kamala Harris. But it is going to be very hard for me not to judge you. It is going to be very hard for me not to judge people, because this is when we talk about integrity, right? We always finish out the show talking about integrity as far as, what's in my bag. You can't have a certain level of honesty with yourself and look at Kamala Harris, in my opinion, and be proud that she is the candidate that is representing your party. Now, I'll only judge you to a certain point. I get it if you're just one of these people that are just like, anybody but Trump. But come on. You have to acknowledge that this is embarrassing. These are supposed to be our best, America's best, right? Leader of the free world. In maybe one of the most important times of American history. And we can say that about any time, right? But it does seem like there's a little bit of extra sauce on this election as far as the impact that it can have in not just America, not just the culture of America, but just around the world, and how we are regarded by countries around the world. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad.
Study it.
She answered the question about reparations, said, I think it should be studied. It's like, yo, just have a stance on it. Have an opinion. Okay, so let's take an hour break. Kamala Harris is going to go study the question, and then she's going to come back to the town hall and be able to answer it. You got to be able to answer questions. You talked earlier about preparing in the current job that you were in, when you were asked, have you ever made a mistake? You decided to not acknowledge making a mistake. You said that it's important to prepare, so therefore you don't make mistakes. Kamala Harris, did you prepare for this town hall? Have you prepared for this presidential run at all? It's like, you know, the questions they're going to ask you. This is like an open book test, damn near. Like, you know, it's even better than an open book test. They gave you the questions. Like, you've been asked the same questions, but you repeatedly have subpar answers.
I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Lady, nobody believes that you study any.
When she's sitting down with world leaders, when she's sitting down with Putin, is she going to say, I need to study this? I don't know. I need to study. When she's sitting down, when she's negotiating, I don't know, could she negotiate like Trump did with the Taliban leaders? Or is she just going to be giggling? Like, this isn't even about, and this is what it comes down to. I guess when you live in such a bubble of privilege, then you can afford to have a leader and say, oh, well, I want a leader that's a nice person. They present themselves well, and they just make me feel good. That's a privileged position. When we're in turmoil, I do not care about I'm not prioritizing, oh, well, he speaks to me nicely. He always says the right thing. No, we need a leader to get us out of this hole that we're in and to figure out how to bring some structure, not only to this country, but around the world, and to save our culture. Not the person that, oh, well, they have a nice smile, they dress nice, and they make me feel good. Perhaps that is what has gotten us in the position that we're in now with Kamala Harris, because of those thoughts and because of us deciding to vote for people based on those things rather than just based on who's going to be the best leader for our country.
You don't even study your briefing notes. She was also asked, is she a religious person? Does she pray? And here was her answer just days after two guys were evicted from one of her rallies for shouting out, Jesus is Lord.
Do you pray every day?
I do pray every day. I do pray every day, sometimes twice a day.
Oh, yeah, she's so devout.
The disastrous town hall comes only hours after Kamala Harris shocked voters and commentators by comparing Donald Trump to dictator Adolf Hitler.
There we go.
With former acting U.S. Attorney General Matthew Whitaker saying this shows her desperation.
It just shows, that she's willing to take cheap political hits at Donald Trump. I mean, no one believes that Donald Trump is a fascist, because I tell you what, he was a president of the United States for 4 years and really took no action that would suggest that he wants to lead us to something like Mussolini's Italy. So, I think that is just a cheap political slur that Kamala Harris is trying to throw against President Trump in order to steal this election, but she's just not going to make it happen.
Does this make y'all feel good about the future of our country? Does this make y'all feel good? Let me try to catch up on a couple different comments. And shout out to Urs with the super chat. Shout out to Ant. Appreciate y'all. Let me try to catch up. Well, Mark wrote, why is everyone standing in the way of me doing the right thing? She says, what a hypocrite. Mark wrote, those numbers don't include petty criminals, drug dealers. I bet it's millions of criminals on some level. And this is something that JD Vance did exceptionally well. Trump has got in trouble for saying that there's people coming in, they're criminals, they're rapists. Yeah. Some of them are. Let's just be real. We heard some of those stories. However, when you present it that way, and that's what JD Vance did, so he's master class at delivering messages. Yesterday, he said, look, like, a matter of fact, I hope I have the clip from it. But when he's asked about these things, the way that he answers them is just so it's understanding. He's like, listen, man, there's not everybody coming over the border is a bad person. However, out of that group, there are going to be some, and we need to make sure that we're protecting. Like he said, it's just very sensible and logical things. Van Jones, he cries a lot. Yeah, I'm mad that I didn't have the Van Jones clip. Ant wrote, if we have to live through another 4 years of this kind of America, I'm going to cry. No, you're not. I feel you. It's fun, but you're going to do just as well as you would if Trump's in office, because that's what type of people we got in this community. However, we may cry for a lot of other people. Matter of fact, we may cry for some others, you know, because the majority of people in this world are sheep. The majority of people that if their candidate does not win, they are going to be depressed just as if their team didn't win that weekend and now they're having a bad week. All right, let's hold on. Let me see if we're gonna. Mark wrote, Kamala doesn't need to be good or qualified. She's simply the chosen face of something much larger, the establishment war machine. I agree, but not realizing it's up to the states and people voted. So Queez was talking about, oh yeah, not that they believe in abortion, they just don't want the government to decide. Exactly. So let's keep going. I want y'all to see, what do we have next on this? I want y'all to see this conversation between Scott Jennings and Ashley Allison, I believe is her name. And then we're going to get into a little bit of that 1916 project. Or actually, we may actually go to JD Vance first. We probably should go to JD Vance first. But yeah, let's get into this conversation that I want to show y'all between our buddy Scott Jennings at CNN that always holds it down for us. Take a look at this conversation. Let me make it full screen real quick for y'all. Take a look at this.
Right now, he's not running on it because it's what he actually believes.
If I couldn't articulate a single restriction, I would attack Trump.
This is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz believes, is that it's none of your business what women do with their body. And so stay out of our doctor's offices and stay out of our bedrooms.
Well, I guess I'll have to speak up for the babies. They're not here to speak for themselves. Lord have mercy.
Let's check back in.
I'm going to play that exchange again. There's a lot that I want to say about that video and that exchange. To me, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing in a few different ways. It's embarrassing. Shout out to Shy in the building. It's embarrassing in a bunch of different ways. I'm going to try not to go the way that y'all are probably thinking I'm going to go. But I don't like how she's presenting her opinion. Is that a good way to say it? I don't like how she's presenting her opinion. And when you see this is something that comes up all the time. And somebody said it the other day to me. They said that a black man, somebody made this comment in the live stream the other day. When I said something about abortion, and they said a black man, and this is a black guy. I wish I had the quote word for word what he said, but he said a black man talking about abortion is like a white man talking about black issues in America. White men are allowed to talk about black issues in America. Am I not allowed to talk about anything that happens with Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine? Am I not allowed to talk about any white issues in this country? Am I only allowed to speak on black situations and issues? Why would this black man, and it just goes to show you how manipulated we've gotten. And that's why I want to get into this 1916 project, because I don't think that we realize how this sheepish, herdish mentality has us viewing certain things that we think that we're completely right on, that may be evil, or at least established with evil origins. So when she's sitting here saying, "Come on, they want to stay out of our bedrooms," like a dude, it takes two people, right? If a dude has nothing to do with, let me ask y'all this. If you don't think that a guy should have an opinion on abortion, then change the law to where when you have the baby, the guy's responsible financially or in any other way. Oh, we don't want to do that, right? That doesn't make any sense. So then why shouldn't a guy have, why am I not even allowed to voice an opinion? Why am I not even allowed to have any type of input on whether or not we are going to follow through having this baby, because it was created by both of us, right? That's the reason why when the baby's here, I'm held to a certain level of responsibility for the baby. But you don't want me to have any input in the decision. It's delusional. It makes no sense. And because so many men have just gone along with it, all it does is empower a lot of women to believe that what they're saying actually makes sense. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. And it's usually a particular type of woman, I'm just being totally honest from my opinion, that stands so strong. I'm not saying that all women that believe pro-life or, pro-choice are a certain type of way. I'm not putting you on this category, but the ones that stand up so hard against it, or for it, I should say, for the choice, my body, it's not godly, sweetheart. It's not, in my opinion. Let's keep going. Let's move on to what I was telling y'all about this 1916 project. I have a few bookmarks. Hopefully, so I prepared. I was hoping that it'll allow us to show it. If it doesn't, then I got a backup plan. But let's take a look at this. The first timestamp that I have is at 7:38, and it talks about the beginning of Planned Parenthood, how it originated. So let's take a look at this. What did I say? 7:38. All right. Let's get into it. Do I have it on here? All right. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hold on. Let me reset it. There we go. Hold on.
Abortion
so the origins of Planned Parenthood.
Abortion is not just one establishment overturns their minds, because they're treating it like a religious sacrament.
When Mrs. Margaret Sanger opened the first birth control clinic in the United States back in 1916, birth control was a dirty word.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have been diseased from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
She said a lot there. Now, in the beginning, you may have okay, so she's talking about, babies shouldn't be born that have deformities or have certain things passed down from their parents. And you're like, okay. But then she goes on to say what? She goes on to talk about prison. So is she saying that babies that are marked for prison, or let's say that a kid grows up in a situation where we know father's not being in the household, the kid is more likely to go to prison. Are we saying that, if you're going to raise this child by yourself because they're likely to go to prison, they may be marked for this when they're born, so let's just terminate that baby? This is how Planned Parenthood, the same Planned Parenthood that puts their bus outside of the Democratic National Convention and offers the birth control pill to women, and then offers, what is it called when you sterilize a man? Cutting the, whatever, y'all know what it is, whatever it's called. Somebody write in the chat what it's called. But offering to sterilize men in this bus that they have. This is that same Planned Parenthood. So what ends up happening is everybody has a product, right? We talk about sales. When somebody is trying to sell you on something, they're trying to convince, a lot of times they have to make up a problem. Vasectomy. Yeah, they're giving out vasectomy. Shout out to my brother, Mark. Mark is on point. Mark, you're a co-host like everybody else. Mark, shout out to Mark. I don't want everybody getting jealous and stuff, but appreciate that. When you have Planned Parenthood and you realize what they were established on, how could it not change your outlook on what they're doing? They just needed to create a problem, create an environment to where it seemed like they were doing a good service for people, but in all actuality, they were looking to destroy a particular population to just ensure that this one perfect population would survive. This is Hitler-ish, or just you could say Hitler. Let me play this. Let me play that part again. And yeah, tell me if I'm wrong.
At the clinic in the United States back in 1916, birth control was a dirty word.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
This is crazy.
Behind me,
so y'all have no issue with that?
Is the Planned Parenthood of Greater New York building. A building which up until mid-2020 bore the name the Margaret Sanger Center, which sat on the corner of a street called the Margaret Sanger Square. Something happened in 2020 during the mostly peaceful, somewhat fiery BLM Incorporated Antifa arsenry protests, where the left went after their own. You know this about revolutions, right? They always eat their own. And so the left uncovered and actually exposed what conservatives had been saying for decades, that Margaret Sanger was a racist, eugenicist, totalitarian revolutionary who hated anyone that she said had bad genes and was unfit to reproduce. So Planned Parenthood removed their founder's name from this building and from the Margaret Sanger Square. To understand Margaret Sanger, we have to understand the early cultural and political revolutionaries who influenced her. Revolutionaries who had a far more robust commitment to their philosophy and religion than most Christians have today. If they've lied to you about their patron saint, what else are they lying about? My mother was the director of a pregnancy resource center in the early 1990s in Los Angeles County. And she was directing that center while pregnant with me. So it's been a part of our sort of family heritage for a long time.
All right, I want to move to the next one. I want to move to the next clip that I have, because a lot of people still may not be sold on the fact, well, was she, really trying to do this? Was she trying to do that? Was she really trying to just establish a population for certain groups while killing off others? Let's take a look at the origin. So this next clip discusses some of the reasons behind, or the inspiration, the motivation behind her opening up the clinic. Why every time does this have to reset? My apologies. Maybe I can't keep pressing pause.
Percent started here in Greenwich Village, New York.
Margaret Sanger is radicalized. So she starts to write and create pamphlets that run afoul of the Postmaster General's anti-obscenity laws to protect the male.
What gets her indicted is some of her writing in Sanger's first magazine,
yes,
Woman Rebel,
right,
that bore the mast, no gods,
no masters,
and no masters. And
the subtitle was To Create a Race of Thoroughbreds.
Wow.
To create a race of thoroughbreds.
So she flees to England. So there in England,
she's playing God. She's playing God. And I don't know if you caught the message earlier that the gentleman was saying. She was standing on her own type of religious, cultural principles, stronger than Christians stand on principles and values now, which I believe he was trying to insinuate. That's the problem. That's why we're so lenient. That's why we see things the way that we see now. Think about that. She's playing God. She's trying to control and create a race of thoroughbreds. But y'all still may be saying, well, race may not be involved. Okay, let's keep going.
Begins to formulate this plan. Wow. Here's how we push forward the revolution. We push it forward by freeing the libido, freeing
Shout out to
women
Melanie Lynn.
from
Appreciate you.
the consequences of that libido by limiting birth.
Now, wait, Dr. Grant. She was advised quite clearly by Havelock Ellis to literally tone down her revolutionary sounding themes, because here's where she's in England, because she was talking too much about anarchism and communism.
Right.
Little not so popular.
Right.
And Havelock Ellis coached Sanger to focus on the more scientific sounding themes.
Yeah, one of the things
of
that
eugenics
one
and
of the
birth
things
control.
that we see with Sanger is she is a quick learner, and she is politically astute. She measured what she would say. And by the way, she was involved in very promiscuous relationships.
So she begins an affair, actually, with
Listen to this. A lot of crazy stuff going on.
He writes in his letters about his sexual experiences in bed with Sanger, forces his wife to read them, and Havelock Ellis drives his wife insane.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of weirdo stuff going on. A lot of weird stuff going on with this lady, Margaret Sanger, that we trusted to deliver, as women would call it now, reproductive rights. Do you not find an issue with her being the mother of women's reproductive rights? Now, a lot of us talk about Donald Trump. We can't, his principles, his morals, his values are so terrible. I would never support somebody like him. But a lot of the positions that I see a lot of people standing on are supporting the same principles and values that were established by Margaret Sanger and her Planned Parenthood. So I really don't understand. It seems like we're in a very, and maybe it's the lack of information. That's why I'm really hoping that a lot of people look into this, because we can all get caught up in seeing the world one way when perhaps we should be seeing it a different way. We can all get caught up in that. All right. I want us all to acknowledge that. It just is what it is. We've all been caught up in it. I know I was. But when we actually get the information, don't we have to change based on new information? Don't we have to, or aren't we doing ourselves a disservice if we don't change our perspective based on receiving new information? Y'all tell me.
To uphold the standards of the law.
And here's the thing that was significant about Buck versus Bell is I can show you the Planned Parenthood webpage where they admit, because of BLM, Antifa, 2020, George Floyd, 1619 Project, systemic racism, that Sanger endorsed the Buck versus Bell decision. And let's be clear here, Sanger was very clear about the goals of Planned Parenthood. She once said, eugenics without birth control seems to us a house built upon the sands. It is
eugenics without birth control seems to us a house builded upon the sands. She's saying that we have to implement birth control in order to push their goal of eugenics. Birth control was a tool used to destroy certain populations. And when you look at it right now, especially when look at where the community that she decided to start her I don't even want to say medical clinic, her clinic in Brooklyn, New York. She didn't do it around her neighborhood of other wealthy white folk that she was living with. She decided to go to Brooklyn, to where there were a whole bunch of black people, Jewish people, a lot of migrants coming in. It was an impoverished community. And she intentionally went to those communities in order to make money by killing babies. And now when you look at the majority, you look at, take a population like black women and the amount of abortions that they actually represent. I believe it's like 40% of the abortions that I don't even want to, don't quote me on that number. I just heard it. They actually discussed it in here, but don't quote me on that. But when you look at the amount of black women that are in this country compared to the amount of the breakdown of who's having abortions, they make up for an overwhelming amount based on the population that they represent in the country. And when you see this and the leader is telling you exactly what the intentions of birth control were with Planned Parenthood, that has to kind of raise an eyebrow or at least make you think a little bit about it. Maybe you were looking at it wrong. Am I just totally off on this? Especially with everybody claiming to be godly, claiming to be religious. How can you be of any of these things? How can you just be a decent human being and not change the way that you're looking at something, or at least be open to considering a different perspective on it when you hear certain things like this?
Is at the mercy of the rising streams of the unfit. There's that word again.
The unfit.
Fit and unfit. We now get to 1948. If
What's
you
up?
Google
Yeah.
the term father of the sexual revolution, if you Google that term, the first 10 pages of Google will be a man named
Alfred Kinsey.
Alfred Kinsey.
Through the process of sexual abuse,
Yep.
child pornography,
Yep.
rape,
Yep.
the introduction of all manner of bestial and homosexual acts.
Yep.
He documented all of this
Quite literally.
to establish that there is a separation between the body and the soul, or the true identity.
So the Gnostics.
So we begin with a kind of bizarre occultic Gnosticism, which leads us eventually to the gender revolution.
I can't play, like, I really wish that, and I'm totally open to it. If y'all want to watch this together, the entire the entire documentary, then I'll figure out a way to do that over the next week or so. Maybe we should just watch it and review it in real time, set a time, let everybody know exactly when we're going to be going over it, because I think certain conversations need to be had. And we need to challenge our thinking. We have to challenge our thinking, because I don't know about y'all. I don't want to be the person that, because I was so stubborn and not willing to open my mind to a different perspective, that 50 years down the line, or however many years down the line, I'm contributing or further contributing to the destruction of humanity and moving in very evil ways. I don't want to be that, just based on being stubborn. All right. So I think maybe we all should just be willing to, if you think that you're right, and if you think that watching this isn't going to do anything, then cool. That's more reason to watch it. And if your opinion changes, thank us for that. If it doesn't, then keep believing what you believe. But let's move on. We're going to move on. I just wanted to show you a couple clips of that. Feel free to definitely watch it on your own. But like I said, if you guys want to watch it together, I'm 100% open to that. We got a couple new people coming in the building. Shout out to Yeah Baby. Shout out to Melanie. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Appreciate y'all joining the community, joining the fam. Everybody, make sure y'all welcome them. I know Ant just did it. So we got a tight-knit community here. We got a tight-knit community, and we're all about elevation. So let's take a look at some of JD Vance's performance last night. Let me take this off the screen real quick. Yesterday, while I was watching JD Vance's town hall with y'all, I realized very early on that a star has been born. A star has been born. Matter of fact, let's just get into the clips. I don't need to tell y'all when I can show y'all, right? So what's the first one that let's take a look.
Don't get too personal all the time, but one of the things I've seen, especially from
this was genius what he said here. This is something that we talk about on the show a lot, where we get into arguments over politics. We hating family members, not speaking to friends, just over politics. Listen, just masterclass.
Don't get too personal all the time, but one of the things I've seen, especially from some of my wife's friends and some of my friends, is that they disagree with us on politics. Sometimes they'll get very personal about it, and if you're discarding a lifelong friendship because somebody votes for the other team, then you've made a terrible mistake, and you should do something different. Like don't cast aside.
Now, we talk about unity and unifying the country, right? Everybody's mad because things are so separated. Meanwhile, you got Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump a fascist. You got Donald Trump saying that Kamala Harris is illiterate, not a smart person, all these different things. I don't know if he said illiterate. He said some other things. But then we have JD Vance and even and Tim Walz doing the same thing that Kamala Harris does. JD Vance is the most impressive out of out of Trump, Kamala Harris, and Walz. JD Vance is by far the most impressive person in this race when it comes to how they conduct themselves. Now, I don't want to disrespect and discredit Donald Trump as far as he already had 4 years, and I thought that he did a good job. I do think that he did a good job. With the pandemic, we can argue how he handled that, but if you look at before there was a global pandemic, I think he did a solid job, and I didn't vote for him. JD Vance, how he presents himself, he just gets it. He is the most impressive candidate out of all of them. He is the person that I think people from both sides will look at and say, you know what? I kind of like this guy. You know, I heard a bunch of things. I heard he was a little smug, heard he was a little arrogant, but I kind of like this guy. And I said this yesterday. When I first heard Vivek, I used to like Vivek a lot. Not to say that I don't like him anymore. He's just not in the mix. I thought that Vivek would be the future of the Republican Party. JD Vance is on a different level. I'm not talking about a different level of intelligence. I'm talking about just a different level of how he presents himself. A different level as far as being able to get support from people, whether they dislike you or like you. That's my opinion on it. Y'all tell me.
Most of my family obviously is going to vote for, Donald Trump and JD Vance. And if they're not, actually, I need to talk to them. But I've got friends who like me personally, acquaintances who aren't necessarily going to vote for me. That doesn't make them bad people. And we can't, this is my most important advice, whether you vote for me, whether you vote for Donald Trump, whether you vote for Kamala Harris, don't cast aside family members and lifelong friendships. Politics is not worth it. And I think if we follow that principle, we'll heal the divide in this country. Thank you, man.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to...
I mean, impressed or not impressed? So this was, before we get to the cats and dogs, matter of fact, we'll get into the cats and dogs. So this was, in my opinion, the worst answer that he gave on the night. And I still don't think that it was, I don't think that it was bad, but I just think that it was the worst one for him because I think just like with Kamala, when you're wrong about something, just say you were wrong. I believe he uses the word maybe, but let's take a look at the video. This was, the truth is, even this one, like for this to be your worst interaction, shows that you had an amazing night.
Enough about what's happening at the southern border. When you think about these statements about who's eating dogs and cats in Springfield, do you wish that had been handled differently by you and others?
Well, what I said then, and I'll say now, is you're hearing a lot of things from your constituents. They're telling you things. And I think it's important for me to listen to the people that are coming to me with their problems. Now, do I think that the media certainly got distracted on the housing crisis and the health crisis and the crisis in the public schools by focusing on the eating the dogs and the cats things? Yeah, I do. And do I wish that I had been better in that moment? Maybe. But it's also people in my community, people that I represent are coming to me and saying, this thing is happening. What am I supposed to do? Hang up the phone and tell them they're a liar because the media doesn't want me to talk about it? One of the things that I've learned in my time in the United States Senate is that sometimes the media doesn't always listen to people. And sometimes people say something that seems outlandish and it turns out being false. And sometimes people say something outlandish that turns out being true.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your...
Damn, Cuomo coming in strong there. I got to be critical, right? I got to keep the same energy. Like I said, I don't think it hurt him tremendously, but I think that he could have I think that he could have done a lot better than that answer. I think he could have just done a lot better and just said, listen, it's, I think that we could have verified the information before saying something like that because we understand the platform that we have and the result of something that we say that is extreme as this, what that could look like in the community. So that's how I would look at it. Yeah, baby said the clips are too short. All right, well, I don't know what I go check out the so yeah baby. If the clips are too short, no problem at all. But obviously you saw I think that you were the one that said that you were on. No, that was Melanie. Check out the video from last night. We go over the entire interview. So if these clips are too short, I totally understand. We gotta show, we cover a bunch of things, but that you reminded me to tell everybody to make sure that you check out the show that we did last night, reviewing everything that we're going over. We're just looking at highlights right now. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. There's one that I wanted to say. This is when, at this point, I realized that JD Vance was in his bag when he decided to do something that most Republicans would not dare to do. And he decided
I want to go back to X.
To critique and call out Ronald Reagan. You don't hear a lot of Republicans doing that. Let's take a look.
Post that is related to that. Do you believe there's a simple solution? This is from user Judy.
Okay.
For homelessness.
Can somebody do me a favor? Or matter of fact, while we're listening, I'll yeah, baby. Yeah, we covered the whole thing yesterday. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Let's keep going.
Especially for the mentally ill.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I know, Judy, I appreciate it. And any of us who live near or even just visit a big city to go to dinner or have a nice night out know that the homelessness problem in this country, especially in our big cities, is completely out of control. And this actually goes something I'm going to criticize President Reagan going back 40 or so years, because President Reagan made a decision to cut mental health care in this country. And the decision that we made collectively as a nation was we were going to let people live on the streets instead of sometimes being committed to inpatient mental health facilities. Now, what that has meant is that our taxpayers have picked up the burden of caring for those mentally ill folks. If you go to a county lockup, I mean, we have law enforcement officers here today. If you talk to a local sheriff, a lot of times our local jails have just become housing facilities for people who suffer with mental illness. I don't think that it's compassionate to let the mentally ill fester on the streets. Some of them have addiction problems. Some of them have other health problems. I think we need to get back to saying that if you have real mental health problems, you got to go to an inpatient treatment facility, get the care that you need, and not stop harassing people on our streets. That's not compassionate. It's not compassionate for the mentally ill. It's not compassionate for our residents in our cities. We've got to get back to something that actually, it wasn't perfect, and I wouldn't say that it was perfect, but our model now of just letting people hang out in the streets, some of them are freezing to death, some of them are dying of overdoses. It was a mistake, and I think all leaders should be able to say, we made a mistake, let's try something that actually works this time.
In many of the cases, you can't even compel care. So if people don't want to go in, they can't. Over 30,000 of the homeless in this country are veterans. And boy, if that's not an emergency, I don't know what is. Hey, thanks for watching.
He's handling the questions very well. He's handling the questions very well. So, like I said, I just put the link in the chat for all those that did not get to see the full review. If you need more than those clips, I totally understand. Check out the link that I just put into the chat. That's going to show last night's review. Live stream and review of JD Vance's town hall. And we also did one of Kamala Harris's town hall as well. So you can check that as well. That went bonkers. Honestly, for y'all that didn't tap in on Wednesday, I didn't even tell y'all. Hold on. If y'all didn't tap in on Wednesday night, then you missed it. You missed it. There was at one point where there were over 4,300 or we got to add our little flavor, 4.3 million, but really 4,300 people in the building. All right, 4,300 people in the building. So definitely you missed that one. So may want to go check that out. The chat, chats get crazy. If you look at a chat and talking about some of these politics, you realize exactly where we are in this country and how we need to get better. So yeah, let's move on. We're gonna move on. I had an interesting video. Oh, Twitch chat not getting any link. All right, so why don't you do this? Yeah, baby. If you're not getting the link, then all you have to do is click. First and foremost, I got this. First and foremost, I need everybody to like the video. And if you'd like to go see the other video, subscribe And then when you subscribe to us, all you have to do is look in our live, just click the live link and you'll see the video right under our live link. So hopefully that's not too much for you. I'm sorry that it's not in the Twitch chat. It's only in the YouTube one. So my apologies about that. All right, so let's move on. I think we're gonna move on to this funny video. And then we're getting ready. We're on the home stretch. We're on the home stretch. So I believe, and Ant, you tell me, either Ant or Queez sent me this, I believe, or if somebody else sent it to me, please let me know. Please correct me. But I thought that this was an interesting exchange. We actually stopped talking about dating. We stopped talking about dating a while ago and relationships. It was actually getting a little bit too crazy for me, a lot of these conversations about relationships and stuff, because you end up not feeling good. You can win a conversation, but you don't necessarily feel good about how the convo went or the energy exchange. And you see people writing stuff on your it's just like, yeah, I don't even want to deal with all this. Like, I got enough to deal with my own situation, like be facing all this backlash about just my opinion. But all right, so Ant's asking, which video is it? Before he takes some credit. Hold on, let me pull it up. I got a couple funny videos.
Recently,
Is this you, Ant? So y'all take a look at this. I thought that this was hilarious. So Queez put it on. Queez put it on Ant. All right, let's get to the video.
like recently I matched with a doctor on a dating app, and I was just like, I said, what do you do? He's like, I'm a doctor. And he was just like, I was like, okay, so what's your goals? He was just like, oh no, I kind of blocked.
I wanted to play it through. Let me play it through first, then we'll watch it.
You because, like, what do you mean what's my goals? Is a doctor not enough? I don't want somebody who's content with where they are. A doctor is being a doctor is amazing. I understand what you guys go through to get there, but why can't you want more? I guess me having 3 jobs shows you that I'm never comfortable with being in one place.
Not being he need to run for the president. He's already a surgeon, and that ain't enough for you.
It's not a money thing more, so I guess it's an ambition thing.
I swear to God, you cannot make this fucking shit up. Them 3 little jobs that you got, probably not even close to his check. And another thing about a doctor, they are fucking independent contractors. They don't work for one hospital, meaning the hospital got to pay them to come because they're contractors. You get it?
I'm going to play it again.
Like recently I matched with a doctor on a dating app, and I was just like, I said, what do you do? He's like, I'm a doctor. And he was just like,
as you're listening to this, can you imagine, like, you're more critical of this man and holding him to a certain standard than you're even holding Kamala Harris to. This is probably the same type of person. Now I'm gonna prejudge. I'm gonna be prejudiced. Matter of fact, I shouldn't be prejudiced. If I'm leading into something, I should. A lot of people, just what I really want to say, the nerve of who does this chick think she is? That's what I really want to say. Who does this chick she's? People are delusional. Now, what I was gonna say before I decided not to say it was that this is the type of woman that will vote for Kamala Harris, disregarding all qualifications. But when it comes down to you dating and you working your 3 jobs because you're ambitious, as if that's something to be proud of. Like, this video highlights so many microcosms here. Like, why are you working 3 jobs, man? So you can buy a new bag, so you can go on more trips to escape the reality that you hate. Like, why are you so ambitious? That's the question. Why are you so ambitious with those type of things, but maybe not ambitious with some of the other things that maybe matter? She didn't mention, oh, well, what are your goals? Do you want a family? How many kids do you want? What type of father are you going to be? You're upset that a doctor is not ambitious enough, that just being a doctor isn't good enough for you. Just to me says a lot. I thought that was a little bit of a funny clip. Maybe not. Maybe you don't see it as funny, but we got 2 more clips that we're going to show, and then we're going to get out of here. Just 2 more funny clips. We're pretty much, we're winding down on everything, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. Didn't keep y'all too long. All right, so stuff that my dad sends me. This is a reminder. Stop getting involved in stuff that doesn't concern you. Quick little reminder to stop getting involved in stuff that doesn't concern you. And the last video that I want to show, I know I've been critical of LeBron James and Bronny. Just critical in a sense of I just wanted Bronny to develop and to be able to have his own development process without Bron intervening. But I believe that this is a clip. This is a clip that LeBron put up. It did make me happy. I did think that it was pretty cool. So y'all tell me what y'all think about it. But I do think that it's cool to be able to play on the same team as your son. I don't like how it happened, but wanted to just show this.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this.
For the Lakers, LeBron James and Bronny James, both in the lineup.
NBA history at Crypto.com Arena. A father and a son playing together on the same court as teammates.
Yo, I can't front, man. That was dope. I can't front. That was dope. And Queez, yeah, I saw you, man. Yeah, rest in peace to Tosh. Yeah, I saved that because I wanted to make sure that I go back and send Big Dog a nice note because I was scrolling through it real fast and I just want to make sure that I pay attention to it. So definitely, I definitely received that. And just seeing that video with LeBron and Bronny, man, that hopefully that brings a little joy, a little Kamala joy to your day. And I want us all to take some time to just remember what JD Vance said regarding the conversations and allowing politics to play such a toxic role in a lot of our relationships and friendships. It's not that serious. You have the vice presidential candidate, JD Vance, telling you if politics is causing you to have issues in your friendships and relationships, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And I think that when we have these political shows, it's important for us to remind all of us, ourselves, that, hey, it's not that serious. People see things differently. Hopefully you see things different than you saw a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. So therefore, we got to extend some grace to other people that may not be seeing things the exact way that we see it at the exact time that we see it as well. With all that said, you are a fool if you vote for Kamala. No, I'm just see, I'm just joking. Come on. I'm just joking. I had to take a little shot there. But it's Friday. Like I said, if you guys want to take a look at that 1916 project over the weekend or next week, just let me know. Shoot me a text, send a message, hit up the Instagram. Really appreciate all y'all. This has been a tremendous week for us. Just to kind of give y'all, and I know Shy wrote that it was crazy earlier with the chat on Wednesday. The Wednesday chat that we did, the Wednesday live stream that we did, it did more views, more watch hours than we had previously done in, I think, the last 2 years. So to me, I don't know, I guess you could take it a little bit of, a bunch of different ways. But, one of the things that I went to breakfast a couple days ago with one of my big bros, Jim Dory. And we were talking about there just is no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to success. Just got to keep pounding the pavement. Just keep working towards the goal. And the reason why there's no shortcuts to success is because the journey is so important, because that's where the actual success is. The success isn't in the prize that we earn at the end or what we're able to buy with the money at the end. The success is in how we developed with all the trials and tribulations that we faced along the way. So let's embrace every day with excitement, with excitement because there's an opportunity for us to make our life better and for us to get a step closer to our goals. And I saw, so hold on. So Joe wrote, can we get your opinion on the Trump Hitler BS? My opinion is exactly what you just said. I think it's BS. I think it's BS. I also, there's, you know what? And I want to be very careful here in comparing things, because I know that when you use different comparisons or analogies, it can desensitize or show that I'm not, it can almost represent it as if I don't have any sympathy or empathy for the initial situation based on me comparing it to another one. But I don't know whether Trump said it or not, and maybe I should just leave it there. But one thing that I will say is that, you know, we act as if people that break up or leave certain jobs, or you had a boss that you hated and you end up leaving the job, or you end up getting fired, or you end up firing somebody. Like, why do we just take the word of everybody that just worked for Trump that left him? If those same people were working for Trump, then you would totally disregard, or if those same people said nice things about Trump, you would say, oh, they're just lying because they work with Trump, or he just wants to be in Trump's good favor. But then when people that no longer work with him say things about him, it's like, oh, that must be true because it fits our narrative. Now, if Trump did say it, this is where I was saying as far as the analogy that I'm getting ready to make. If y'all watch sports, or even just in business or anything, there's certain players on certain teams that you can't stand. You hate the way that they play. You feel like they may even be dirty players. I'm thinking of, you know, some of the teams, like the Detroit teams that used to beat up Michael Jordan. I don't know, like maybe like a guy like Charles Oakley, if you feel like he was beating up some people while he was playing. I don't know. But we've all seen certain players that we hated when they were on other teams, but when they became on our team, or we would like to have certain players on our team. Now, Trump, I don't even know the exact extent of him, and I know people are probably cringing saying, Dak, don't even get into this. But it's just I'm just giving my opinion. For one, so let me be very clear. I don't, who was it? General Kelly or whoever came out and said it. It doesn't really hold much weight for me. They've been trying any and everything to compare Trump to Hitler. Trump is clearly, you know how Kamala Harris says, well, I'm clearly not Joe Biden. Trump is clearly not Hitler. And it's just another tactic that they're using to get us to fear monger us into hating him. So we'll support Kamala Harris and the Democrats by default. Now, if he did say it, obviously, I don't think you never can celebrate the honor of anybody that was helping Hitler do what he did. You're not going to celebrate the honor or integrity or anything like that. Based on what I heard, what he was saying that Trump said, he was saying like, oh, his loyalty to Trump. Now, if I was Trump and I said that, I would say I chose a bad way or a bad reference to say that somebody was loyal. Just like I used the sport analogy, Trump could have used the sport analogy and said, hey, I wish that I had somebody loyal to me, like how Tony Yayo is loyal to 50 Cent. He could have just said that. Matter of fact, let's just say that from now on. So if he did say it, then, bro, you're just, you know that certain things are going to be super sensitive to certain groups, and that no matter whether the point that you feel that you're making it in a good way, it doesn't matter. It's going to turn people off. It's going to be divisive, and it's going to create a lot of hatred in people. Now, with the Democrats using it, I still think that the Democrats using it, they're doing it for BS reasons. So hopefully I answered that question in a direct way. I don't know. But yeah. Uncle Brother wrote, yo, been lurking in the wings today. Great show. As to your point earlier about weirdness, keep in mind that those pointing a finger at the so-called weird have 3 fingers pointing back at them. Uncle Brother, for Tim Waltz to create this, it wasn't Tim Waltz the person that started this weird stuff. For him to talk about something being weird while you're allowing tampons in boys' bathrooms, and for the Democratic Party overall, like, just from a weird standpoint, conservative values, I don't think tend to be as weird right now as far as like the super liberal and progressive. things like drag queens reading books to kids in school, like men playing against women in sports, Joanna Man actually turning into real life. So from a weird standpoint, they lost me a bit on that one. They lost me a bit on that one. But yeah. And wrote, so the big fish. Yeah, I got to start using this. Big fish shit. Yeah, I got to start using the drops, man. Ooh, you sound like a victim. I got to start using that. Oh man, I should have been using that on Wednesday. They would have went crazy. They would have went crazy. But all right, so that's where I'll leave y'all with. I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but just keep in mind, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And one of the points where I will finally leave you, because y'all know I'll be talking for days. How lucky and privileged we all are to be living on this world, in America, wherever you're living, in Europe. I know it's people in Canada, Mark's in Canada, wherever you're living. How fortunate we are to be living during this time where we're able to connect with people all over the world and be able to share conversations in order to do our goal or to serve our goal as far as elevating on purpose. All right. We're all able to come together. We could have been born at any other time, but we're here together. So like it or not, our generation as a whole is going to be judged. So we're better off when people look at, how was the times during the late 90s and early 2000s or 2000? How did they move? What things did they accomplish? We're all going to be judged together. So we might as well figure out a way to work together. And first and foremost, focus on ourselves. As Queez always says, the only thing that we need to do to bring about any change is to be the change. So let's all be the change that we want to see in our homes, then move it out to our towns, communities, villages, and then move it out to our country. All right. So appreciate y'all. Love y'all as always. I know there's a couple comments coming in. Mac Daddy wrote, Walt's taking groups of teens to China, and now there's reports he sexually abused them. We may have to look into that. Joe wrote, facts, my man. Thanks for a good show. Appreciate y'all. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe. And if we don't do anything over the weekend, then we'll see y'all Monday at 8 a.m. Queez already sent the fire emoji, so y'all know what it is. Once again, we're here to elevate on purpose, increase your standards in order to accomplish, and increase your standards to become the person that you need to become in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Onward and upward, strength and honor. Y'all know what we always do. It's Friday. Let's make sure that we finish out strong. We start off every week making the claim, standing on it, that this will be the greatest week ever. Friday is where we get to bring that into fruition. So what's in my bag? Peace, love, happiness, and of course, health, wealth, and in everything that we do, integrity. Y'all decide what's in y'all bag, the things that you're aligning with. So Uncle Brother, gang, y'all know what it is. Queez left the fire emojis. I'm already talking too much, and I'll see y'all soon.